All right, welcome everyone again to another episode of the Good Life Small Business Podcast, and I am pleased to be joined today by Megan Goeke, who is the owner of Hello Beautiful Bridal and Formal Wear here in Kearney. So Megan, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's get into it here so that we can get to know you a little bit better. What are some books or a book that you're currently reading or listening to right now?
I am reading Profit First right now, which
Great
is
book.
fantastic book for really anyone to read.
Yeah.
I had skimmed it once. It's been probably a few years, and when we had a little more time on our hands this year, I decided I wanted to go back and read it again. I'm also reading a book that my 14-year-old daughter recommended. It's one of her favorite books, called Into the Night, and it's really kind of a World War II setting, and so it's one that she has read for a long time, and she's always told me I needed to read it. So I started to just read that one for myself as well. So got two books going at once right
Nice.
now.
That's never a bad thing. You can go back and forth. Is your daughter a big reader?
Yes. Yeah, all of my kids are. They all love to read.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you looked into, so Mike Michalowicz, who did Profit First, he's got Fix This Next. Have you heard of that one?
I have heard of it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good one too.
Yeah,
so
I haven't read that one yet.
When you're done with Profit First, that's a good one if
Yeah.
you want to dig in. So,
yeah.
How about podcasts? Are you a big podcast listener?
You know, every once in a while I will listen to podcasts. Sometimes I'll pop that on instead of music while I'm working out or something like that. My husband listens to a lot of them. Yeah. There's one that I just listened to the other day with Jocko Willink.
Yeah.
And so he's super interesting, you know, so that I've actually really enjoyed, and we'll probably keep listening to that.
He's super intense, but like you get a lot out of it.
Right.
Really.
He has a great book that our youngest child, our 10-year-old son, and my husband were reading, and it's about just total ownership, and so they've really enjoyed reading that together.
Extreme Ownership, is that the name of it? Okay,
yeah.
I've read that one
too. It's the Warrior, the Kid Warrior book.
Oh, okay.
Is what they've been reading. I can't remember the exact title, but it's a Kid Warrior.
Yeah.
And it is about extreme ownership. So yeah.
That's a great book because he does it with another gentleman that he served with, and then they talk about war situations they were in, but then they also take it back and they can relate it to how they've worked with different businesses and kind of how it relates to a business environment and working with people and things like that. Right. So that's a great book. Yeah. Great book. Great book. Great podcast.
Great
yeah. So I'm interested because I don't really know a lot of the backstory with Hello Beautiful. So just kind of give us an idea of how this went from an idea to reality, and what kind of the journey for Hello Beautiful.
Right. So I think the journey begins with just our childhood. So our dad owns a business. He started it himself. He's had it for 35, 36 years, called Wagner Sales and Service. And so he sells and builds grain bins and metal buildings. So he's always been on his own, and so we grew up seeing how hard he's worked and everything that he's done. Obviously, we had great childhood and grew up being able to do a lot of things, and that's a result of him having his own business. And our grandpa, his dad, also owned a business. It's called Wagner Vance, like John Deere implements. And so he had a John Deere shop in Scotia, Nebraska. Okay. And then our great grandmother, our dad's grandma, she had a place called Vera Style Shop in North Luke, Nebraska. She had that for 50 years. So what's really interesting is that, that's a very rural area, but we still have people that come down and say, oh yeah, I shopped at Grandma Vera's shop. And if you didn't see it out, then she would have it somewhere in a drawer. She had everything. Yeah. And she was the lady that she would call you up and say, I saw your coat was looking a little tattered. I got you another one. And she would order one in. And so, people came from miles around to shop with her. And so we actually have her jewelry case here in the store and keep her picture always in with sparkly stuff, because she always had big costume jewelry and was always dressed
Okay.
like super fancy. She was wearing slingbacks all the time. And so, I think we've pulled a lot of our love of accessories and all things sparkly from her for sure. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, for us, just business ownership is something that has, been in our family. And so, we came into it with a pretty good understanding that it's never easy. It's a long road. It's a big commitment of, for your family. And it takes everybody, it takes all of us to participate. So,
Sure.
I have two younger sisters, and my middle sister Jenna and I, when we lived together in college, I mean, we had always just talked about a bridal shop, and we both worked at bridal shops at different points in our life, and so we had the experience, and we also both have worked in retail leadership. I was really fortunate to work for US Cellular for many years.
Okay.
And it's an incredible company that teaches you so much about, just your own leadership path, your just personal development and your responsibility in that. And so I gained just a lot of education in that experience and had the opportunity to really learn and understand how to really create a customer experience and make it super personal, and really make it, an environment that your brand is your personality. And so we wanted to make sure that we could do that here. And,
Sure.
But I learned that from US Cellular. And so I was getting my master's. I have a master's in organizational performance. And during that program, I wrote the business plan for Hello Beautiful.
Nice.
And I think it's really fun because classmates of mine then, as we went on and eventually opened the shop, they reached out, they're like, you did it, you did it, you used your business plan. So that was really a cool thing. But, Jenna and I knew that we would only open a bridal shop in Kearney, just to be able to hit the ground running and be able to open up with a lot of support. We really knew that we needed to be doing that in our hometown. So just having a big network of people that we already knew, people who would refer people to us, we knew was going to be important in our early years of establishing the business. So my husband and I took as many promotions as we could when our kids were little and moved around a lot, and eventually, we're able to move back here. And so at that point, then we really started to talk seriously about, being able to open the shop and what that would look like. We had an opportunity to buy a different bridal shop. We were pretty far down the path of having a very specific brand and experience and designers in mind. So, that fell through, and that's fine, right? I mean, we were able to, go just a different direction and be able to build the business the way we wanted it and the way we envisioned it. So, it was a few years of research and, planning before we actually ever, signed anything really. But once we did, with our initial location, we went in and there really wasn't a lot. I actually looked downtown for a long time, and there wasn't a lot. But if you think about the state of downtown Kearney 6 years ago, it was very different. There was a lot of empty storefronts, and big kudos to the city of Kearney for really investing in the downtown area and making sure that it was revitalized, because it is, and it's so incredible to be able to be down here now. So when we found our initial space, we signed on the dotted line, and 2 months later we were open. It went really, really fast.
Wow.
So
fast.
yeah.
So talk a little bit about, I think it's interesting that you say, my husband and I, we took promotions, we moved around. Like, this was always the goal. And but it took years of preparation. It sounds like the financial side of it, you really wanted to have that, at least, you were planning for that. It wasn't just something where one day you woke up and said, I want to open a bridal shop.
Right. No, it's been a conversation years in the making. So, we seriously had so many conversations with our family, with our parents. And, I remember I was working for US Cellular, had flown back in from Chicago, had been working in Chicago and flown back in and had some events going on the next day for US Cellular. And so I was in downtown Lincoln I was on the phone with my mom talking to her about it. And she was like, well, you're young now. Do you just, I think this is the time that you take the chance and you just go for it now. She goes, you're not going to have the energy to do it later in your life. And so, and you just, as you're raising your kids, then you just learn that balance of being a business owner and raising children, and it's like, just go for it now.
Did you have, whether it was like a certain time period or amount saved in the bank, or was there something specific you were waiting on?
It was really just making sure that we could find what we felt was going to be the right location at the time, and that was part of it. I really appreciated the fact, so our first location was on the north side of Kearney, up by Target, and in that shopping area there was a lot of different retailers, and so that was something that we felt like we're going to get some draw off of those other retailers that are there, where people are just discovering us, and we're able to stop in and just kind of check it out. And so being in that area, I think, was really helpful to start. And being on the north side of town where a lot of the population was growing there, that was helpful too. But it's also really helpful for out-of-towners when you can say, we're by Target.
Right, yeah.
So that once we found the location, and I really appreciated the fact that Tim Norwood was a big champion for us, and was really super supportive. So far beyond just signing a lease with him, he was saying, well, here's some people that I worked with in town when, for bank loans and for insurance and things like that. And just, made his recommendations. And I appreciated that he was so supportive of us, and always a big champion for us. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So talk about changing locations. You guys, you were pretty prominent up there north. You had a good presence. I've noticed that you've always done a lot on social media, and so you were out there. But just talk a little bit about the decision to move downtown, the thinking behind that, and then talk a little bit about what all is involved that maybe you didn't think about, that you needed to make changes as for whether it's business cards or letterhead or whatever it is, making that move to downtown.
Yeah. Our lease was up at the other location when we, first moved in there. We had a 5-year lease, and we weren't unhappy there. It really wasn't a motivation of dissatisfaction. But growing up here in Kearney, there was a really sweet bridal shop that was here downtown on the bricks. It was called Chantilly, and that's where I got my prom dresses from. That's where I got my wedding dress at. And I just loved that space. I loved the downtown. I loved when they had sidewalk sales. Those were super positive memories that my sisters and I all had. And so when we started to consider, were we going to just stay where we were at, or did we want to move somewhere else? We really, we spent the better part of a year really researching. And I was down here for a parade with my kids, and I peeked in this window and I fell in love with the wood floors, and this kind of space reminded me of what we had experienced at Chantilly. And so in being able to speak with the owners and really kind of find out what our options were, we just felt like moving into a space like this was actually going to be really, really good for our business. So for a couple different reasons. You always have to study retail. Just because you're in a location doesn't mean that you're just set. You have to be prepared to change, and retail in general is changing so fast. And if you think about just the nature of shopping in general, over the last 5 years has totally changed. So much of it is online. So much of what you do in brick and mortar has to be, you basically have to extend everything that you do out online. So even if somebody can't just, order a dress off of your website, we have to be able to sell through our social media. So being in a space that's super creative, that really kind of stands out and is unique, is really important.
Sure.
So moving down here was definitely something that we knew we could do. We cut our overhead significantly. which obviously in a year like 2020 makes all the difference in the world. And so we were really, we just knew that any place that, you know, we could decrease our overhead expenses, we can put that right back into the store with the, you know, designers that we carry, and just be able to be in a space that's super creative. And so.
And how long have you been in this location?
It'll be a year on Black Friday.
Okay.
Since we officially opened our doors. We started at the beginning of October of last year doing all of our renovation in this space. So the city of Kearney was awesome because they really helped us be able to just scoot right along. I was in their office often. I'm like, okay, I have to do this thing. So do I need to make sure that I have any permits, or what am I gotta make sure I do it right. So, but we, you know, the outside, the brick actually was covered in a kind of a crazy tile, and I pulled all that off, and we painted the outside of the building, and painted
the building stands out. It very distinguished because of the white, the brick all over. Like you can tell exactly, just like the inside. So, very cool. Yeah, very cool.
It was definitely. I mean, it turned out better than what I, you know, imagined. I just wanted to have just bright white, clean look, and so, you know, painting in October outside can be a little precarious, but we got pretty lucky, and my husband and my dad, I mean, we're out just spraying along the top of the building, and we're painting.
Just get it done, right?
Yep.
Very cool. So what's your favorite part about being a small business owner?
I love the fact that we can be so creative. You know, there's nobody telling us what to do. We get to choose, and we get to really create the experience. So being a small business owner is, you know, allows you to just be as nimble as you want to be. And in years like this where things change so quickly, that's exactly what we need, and that has been to our advantage. So we can choose how we serve our shoppers, and we can do it in a way that best meets their needs. And, you know, with our brides and their wedding dates changing, I mean, some people had to postpone or reschedule 3 times, and that means that things, you know, and so we really had to be able to just turn on a dime and be ready for them. I don't think you get to do that unless you are a small business,
right?
Because I don't have to answer to anybody else. It's us making a decision that's in the best interest of our shoppers.
Yeah, absolutely. And your experience is unique. I mean, yes, you are selling a wedding dress or a prom dress, but you're also selling the experience, and you're working with ladies who are, you know, the most important day of their life. They've been dreaming of this, planning it, and so you really get to build the experience, but you also get to build that relationship with them, which is huge.
Right. You know, it's a big decision to buy a wedding dress, and it's not just the wedding dress. It's, you know, when we're having those conversations, we're talking about their marriage.
Right.
And so, you know, this wedding dress is, you know, part of your experience in your marriage. And so when we think about it that way, it's more than just a dress. We really take that seriously, that we have the opportunity to serve these shoppers and make sure that they really feel great in what they're wearing, feel very comfortable in what they're wearing, and feel confident that, you know, that is going to be a part of their wedding day.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So is this what you thought it would be? Owning a business, being a small business owner?
It's more, I guess, than what I ever imagined it would be. You know, I think the thing that's such a blessing is that I get to do this with my sister. And so the good times and the bad times, all of it, we are experiencing together. Yeah. And it's definitely not something that I would want to do alone. So I'm glad that, you know, she and I get to work on this together, and, you know, that we've got all of our family around us, that they can, you know, when we come home after a long day and we're exhausted, that they listen to us, they hear us out, but they also get to be there and celebrate with us when we have the big successes too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did it take you and your sister a little while to figure out dynamic wise? It sounds like you each have your individual roles, obviously, but did it take a while to kind of gel together as far as working together? Or was it right away?
Right away. I mean, you know, because we had the, because we lived together in
Right.
college, obviously separate from our parents, then we already just kind of understood each other as adults anyway.
Sure.
And we definitely, we definitely think similarly, and our strengths are different. And so what she's really good at is stuff that I'm like, I really don't like to do. And
Right.
what I'm good at, she really doesn't. There's things that she just doesn't like to do. And so we really kind of pick up what we're good at, and that, just works for us.
Yeah.
So the other thing we always say is that we already know how to argue and disagree, and we're really good at just like, we can disagree and move on.
Right.
And we're totally fine. Some people have a hard time kind of dropping something. That is not an issue for us.
Just
we
move
just
on.
Disagree, move on.
Right.
And like our sibling communication, we really, she could be across the store and I'll look at her and she knows exactly what I'm thinking
Right.
about. So that helps us,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
You had plenty of years to figure it out.
yes, we did.
Yeah. Cool. So you've touched on it a little bit regarding the pandemic and how you've had to adjust a little bit, but just talk about some positives that have come out of the pandemic from a business standpoint for you, and what something that you, or maybe multiple things that you've been able to take out of changes that you made within the business, or some time that you had to kind of reevaluate your business, and what something that you're going to take forward from this that is going to make your business better.
What we really appreciated was when things were really starting to change in March. We obviously quickly recognized that we were not going to have a full prom season like we normally would.
Mm-hmm.
So prom season we consider is really January through the end of April, beginning of May. So it's about 6 months. That's our really, really busy time.
Yeah.
And obviously that was pretty apparent that was not happening. In late February, people were, schools were starting to cancel, and so we knew that we were going to need to adjust and be able to answer a lot of questions. Parents had a lot of questions, and we totally, understood that. So when we made the decision to go for a little while just to appointment only, that was really amazing, because we were able to control our environment, protect anybody that's coming in and out by knowing exactly when they were going to be there and how many people we were going to have in. And as a result, we really got to have a great experience, totally focused on just the shoppers that were in the store and not having distractions of a bunch of other people walking
Sure.
in and out. Of course, we're always happy to have walk-in traffic, but just being completely focused on that appointment was amazing.
Yeah.
And so we really appreciated that. And our shoppers did too. So when we really saw that change, we started to think about, what does that look like in the future? Do we stay appointment only?
Mm-hmm.
We have, as a result, really encouraged people and moved to that model of mostly appointments.
Yep.
And just what does it look like then for the future of prom? I think people are still asking that question,
Right.
because we're now looking at, first quarter and second quarter of next year, and there are probably still going to be some things that are not completely open,
Right.
or that we're able to do. So our prom shoppers, they're in a completely different stage of life, and so when they would come in to shop, they aren't thinking about what's happening with a bridal appointment and the decisions that are being made there. And so we started to think about, okay, do we need to be able to separate this out so that we can have a totally prom focused experience and a totally bridal focused experience, so that both have awesome experiences and shopping opportunities, but both are completely different.
Right.
So we really kind of started talking about that. Do we open a separate shop? How do we separate that out? In this building, because we don't have 2 fire exits in the basement, we couldn't turn that into a shoppable space. So that's where we knew we had to look outside of our own shop and start considering what that would look like for prom, and that's where the new shop came from.
Very cool. So talk about the new shop a little bit.
So our new shop, prom only, it's called the Babe Cave.
Okay.
So Hello Beautiful Prom has its own, we have our own Instagram page totally focused on prom. We have a brand ambassador team, which is a bunch of teenagers from around the area that will get to come in and try dresses on, take pictures, share those on their own social media. If we've got special events going on, they get to participate. We get to do different little giveaways and things like that.
Very cool.
And for them referring people in, they get discounts. We give away free prom dress every year to one of our brand ambassadors.
Very cool.
And so we needed a space though that was going to be something that didn't have to be open year round, and I wanted to have it downtown because I wanted it to be close to the shop so that it was just easier for us to oversee. So I have really loved making friends with all of our neighbors down here. We have amazing business owners, and there is a ton of young female business owners downtown. It's really, really cool to see that. So one of the gals, Laura Ryan, who owns the Denim Bar, which is the only other white storefront downtown, she had extra space. So she's got, she has a fully finished basement. She has upstairs, and the Denim Bar is on the main floor. And so, she was like, just come over and take a look and see. I'm not using the space. And so I went over and took a peek, and it was what we needed to just be totally prom focused. We have all of these different Instagram walls, so girls can go in, take a bunch of pictures. There's a whole bunch of different spaces. And I mean, it wasn't a huge build out. It didn't. Dan and my husband and my sister and I did the work and got it done, and opened it November 8th. So it'll be open. So it's open November 8th through May 1st. Okay. And I've got some college girls that have worked with us that run it, and it's fun. I mean, I just know, I know enough to know that I shouldn't be the one over there selling to teenagers, because I could be their mom, and they don't want to shop with me. But our college girls that are like just super fun and just closer to their age and remember that experience more, they're the best fit for it, and they are great on social media. They run our social media for it, and
very cool.
So it was really exciting, because now we have the solution for our shoppers. Our teenagers can have a totally teen focused prom space that is full. We could have more inventory than we ever would have been able to have here for prom. Yeah. And this allows us to keep the bridal shop then totally focused on our brides, have more inventory here too. So add more designers, add more wedding dresses, and keep it totally focused on them. And so it solved that problem and made a better shopping experience for everybody.
Yeah, very cool.
So,
and being able to collaborate with other small business owners, that's fun too.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, so this year I'm the chairwoman of the board of directors for the Kearney Area Chamber of Commerce, and a big believer in the Kearney Chamber, and just the support it can provide to members. But the thing that I absolutely love is the networking with other business owners. And so just being able to be down here and working with other business owners and really learning about their business and what drives them is something that I get a lot of joy out of.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Get a little energy out of that.
Yeah. It's just great to have different perspectives, right? Because it is easy for my sister and I, because we think a lot alike and we're, just inside of it all the time, to be able to just kind of get into a zone and not kind of stop and force ourselves to think differently. So having other business owners to bounce ideas off of and get their perspective and get feedback is super helpful and vitally important to our business too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the goals of this podcast, is I think that as a small business owner, especially you talk about you and your sister, or even if you're doing it on your own, it's easy to kind of get wrapped up in doing your own thing and thinking that you're on your own and that you're alone. And so that's the goal of this, is to help somebody that's in the middle of that or thinking about doing it and give them ideas. So I want to talk real quick about your social media. I followed you guys and just talk about, was social media something that you used from day one? Is it something that has progressed and gotten to be a bigger part of your business? But just talk a little bit about that and its importance with what you do.
Right. Our social media is something that we've always had, and it is incredibly important because it's really what I would consider our catalog to the world, right? And so when our shoppers can go through and, you know, scroll through our Instagram, we always encourage them, hey, go through, you know, make sure you follow us on Instagram, you know, like us on Facebook, so that way then if there's dresses that you see that you are interested in, screenshot or save those and we'll have them in your favorites. So when you come in for your appointment, we pull those dresses for you. And, you know, that helps them. There's two things. It helps them to shop what is actually here as opposed to like looking on Pinterest and who knows where the dresses are from, right? So they're shopping something that they can actually see and try on. And you know, it's really an extension of our brand, of our personality. So you'll see some, you know, Instagram or Facebook pages that are super stylized, and that's really pretty, but what we want to make sure that we're doing is we're showing our true self. So what you see is maybe not like the perfectly posed picture, but you see the dress and you see it in our store and you see us and you know us before you ever get here. You know, our goal is just to make sure that when people come in here that they're super comfortable, because coming in and trying on a dress is a little stressful. So we want this to be just a really great environment where people come in and are like, okay, I know I can, you know, go through these great dresses and I have someone who's going to help me and they're going to answer all my questions and make sure I feel really comfortable with the decision that I'm making. We don't pressure anybody into purchasing a dress. We always work with them on, you know, here's your timeline that you have available, so here's what we would recommend for you. And so when we are able to really show and reflect all of that through our social media, we feel like people know us before they ever come into our store. So, you know, we've worked really hard on growing our social media because we want people to come in and say, pull up a picture, I want this dress. And people do that. And so because they're used to shopping online, so we've got to be there. We've got to be where they're shopping.
Absolutely.
So we have had, at our first store, you know, we had big chalkboard walls that our brides would sign. And we were at market one year, we were in Chicago, and we had these gals come up to us and they're like, hey, you're the shop that has the chalkboard wall, aren't you? Yeah, we are. They're like, we follow you on Instagram and we see all those brides that sign the chalkboard wall. We think that's so cool. So people, I mean, they track you down, they pay attention, and you know, even other store owners, they're
from across the country.
Watching.
You've got an influence on them too.
So when we moved down here, instead of doing the chalkboard wall, because we're on the bricks, we now have the brick walls, and so our brides get a sign on the bricks, which we love. I think, you know, we're always going to have something like that where our brides get to have a fun experience like that, and then of course take pictures with their group in front of the like, Instagram wall and stuff. So
very cool. So is there anything, if you could go back and from when you opened or when you were finding your location, is there any advice that you would give yourself, or would you just let it play out as it has?
You know, we, I think probably one of the biggest challenges, honestly, was when I worked for US Cellular. I mean, I made I had a great salary, and, you know, so making that transition from the super high salary, and you can't do that when you open a business, that was hard. And I mean, I knew it was going to be hard, but for whatever reason, if I would have just thought about like, how do I kind of practice for that, I would have taken more time to just kind of prepare for that change that I was going to make in just what I paid myself, because obviously when you first start out, everything's got to go back in your business. So you just have to be prepared for that. And like mentally, I knew that was going to happen, but I just still, I think if I would have just kind of practiced living that way or being ready for that, I just, you know, I would have done that.
That's great advice.
So
absolutely. So if someone's coming to you, the next generation is coming to you and saying, okay, I want to start a small business, what advice would you give them? Or anyone that's coming off the street, anybody you meet that, you know, maybe comes in that's part of the chamber or, you know, wants to be part of that, what advice would you give someone who wants to start their own small business?
I would definitely say make sure that, you know, from a financial perspective, you have that just nailed down to every last little detail,
Mhm.
and whatever you can do to have your lowest expenses possible to start out. I mean, that makes a big difference in how you are able to really move forward within your first couple of years. You know, when we started out, we had no extra cash flow whatsoever. I mean, what we had on our loan was literally just to pay for our inventory and our build out, and so we didn't build cash flow into that. So we started behind and had to just keep rolling about as fast as we possibly could to get ahead, and that takes a long time to do, and it is hard. But you have to do that. You have to get there so that you can keep your business moving forward. So any way possible for you to start out with, you know, really the smallest loan possible, and, you know, is always going to be better. People kind of get into this mindset of like, you're doing a build out and you just want to kind of blow it out and do all the things.
Right.
Take time and do it in stages. Get it to where it's, you know, if it's a brick and mortar space, get it to where it's a good experience, and then keep adding the details over time as you make money.
Right.
You know, that's huge. And make sure that you have a really big network of people that are there to support you, because you will have days where you're like, what in the world did I do?
Right.
I'm so crazy for having done this business idea. And so you've got to have people who will listen to you, people who will provide you guidance, people who will give you feedback, honest feedback, and tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not.
Right.
So having that network of people that you trust and respect, and they think differently than you, is so important.
Absolutely. I think that when you're starting a small business, you don't realize how long it takes before you could actually earn a salary, because you're putting so much back into the business that first year or two. There's just not a lot of income that can go home. It's being put back into the business for build out or inventory or whatever it is. So yeah, that's huge. So how can people learn more about Hello Beautiful?
So our website is hellobeautifulbridal.com. You know, and we've talked about our social media. We've got a Facebook page, Hello Beautiful Bridal and Formal Wear. Our Instagram is at Hello Beautiful Bridal and at Hello Beautiful Prom.
Okay.
And we officiate, so we have Beyond Beautiful officiants.
Okay.
So we've got 3 Instagram pages. We do have a Pinterest page, which is like kind of gone crazy on us recently. I had written several different like original vows and put them onto our Pinterest page, and the repins on that have been bananas. So we also have a couple of different pictures that, I mean, we were just working in the store one day, tried on some dresses and posted that onto our Pinterest page, and those have been repinned like 1,000,000 times now.
Wow.
It's crazy. So so we do have Hello Beautiful Bridal on Pinterest. We do have a TikTok page, which I do not run. We have a gal named Audrey who is amazing. She just graduated from UNK, and so she does a lot of our social media, does a lot of our photography in the stores, and so she's running TikTok for Hello Beautiful Prom for the Babe Cave, and it's so cool. I just totally can't. I am old enough to know that I don't know exactly how to do TikTok. But I know that Audrey can do it, and she's so good. So
I have not got into TikTok. I don't do Snapchat either for the business. I don't do TikTok, so I'm kind of, I know I probably should at least explore it, but I a little hesitation there. And so it's for the prom dresses, it's Hello Beautiful Prom.
Yep.
Okay.
Hello Beautiful Prom. Yep. So, you know, we're down here on the Bricks, 2309 Central Avenue.
Okay.
So I always tell people we're right across the street from the World Theater. And then the prom shop, the Babe Cave, is in the lower level of the Denim Bar.
Okay.
Their address is 2220 Central Avenue. So we always just say they're diagonal. I always tell people stop over at K-Town Cakery and get some ice cream or get a treat, and then go over and shop in the prom shop.
Absolutely. Very cool. Is there anything you want to let the community, anyone know about Hello Beautiful?
I would just encourage people, obviously, one of the best forms of advertising is referral and word of mouth. And so, just referring people in. We work really hard to carry designers that are not available here in Central Nebraska. The goal is really that you don't have to leave Central Nebraska to find something that is unique. We have great price points. Our wedding dresses are going to be $99 through $19.99, so $100 to $2,000.
Yep.
And really everything in between, all sizes, all designers, styles, all silhouettes. And so I encourage people to shop local. Don't, before you would go to Lincoln or before you would go to Denver, shop here in Kearney and
Right.
take a look at the designers that we carry, because I can think of 3 designers off the top of my head that you would have to go to Omaha or you would have to go to Denver to find.
Mhm.
And we do that on purpose. I want shoppers to have that choice of something that is unique and is gorgeous and is a great price point, and they can do that right here in Kearney. So you can book an appointment on our website on Hello Beautiful Bridal. You can pick a time exactly what works for you in your wedding party.
Yep.
Or can call the store and we can book them. But we do think that having an appointment is important, especially now where we have to make sure that we're careful about how many people are
Sure.
in the store. And we want to make sure that you have a consultant working with you. There's a lot of questions that you are going to have as a bride shopping for your dress. What color is this available in? How do I make sure that this is the right length? Can
Right.
I add sleeves? I mean, there's all these different questions that if you don't have a consultant there to help you, that there's no way to know otherwise.
Right.
So, we are open 6 days a week. So Monday through Thursday, 10 to 6, Friday 10 to 5, and Saturday 10 to 4.
Okay.
The prom shop is open 7 days a week right now. So they basically run the same hours as the denim bar. People can get a hold of us anytime, really,
Right.
because we're always on our social media. People DM us on Instagram and ask questions,
Mhm.
and we, both my sister and I respond and try to be as quickly responsive as possible too. So, shop local, come in and try dresses on, visit the prom shop.
Yep.
Having that option of being able to shop now and be prepared for prom, or we understand, maybe wait and see if prom happens in 21. We're here either way. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
yeah,
This
well,
was
thanks
awesome.
for having me. I appreciate you coming over today.
Yeah, you bet. It was great to hear your story, and everyone come down, check them out downtown, and thanks again.
Thank you.